Warning, this video is entirely unscripted and is extremely cringy. Watch at your own risk. Greetings YouTube, my name is Broly, and this is my kitty. Hi. He's going to be my assistant today. There's also another one, you just heard me out. Anyway, today we are going to be reviewing the glorious book by Frank Herbert, Dune. Now, you might not know, Dune, this is not just one book. There are 3 books in here, but there's also 6 books in the series, which doesn't really make sense. This is the only book in the Dune Chronicles, which is the first one, by the way. This is the only book in the Dune Chronicles that has 3 books in it, which kind of makes up for its size, because this is the only book in the Dune Chronicles that dares to go anywhere over 500 pages, which makes this the largest book in the series. I just want to point this out. This is going to be 100% spoiler filled. So if you haven't read the book, or if you want to read the book, go read it. And if you want to know if it's good or not, I'm going to tell you right now, it is really good. You have to go read it. Please do so. It's an amazing book. Now, on to the review. So this book takes place, it technically takes place within our timeline, but it takes place like thousands of years in the future, right? The story follows this kid called Paul Atreides, who would eventually become basically the prophet for this race of aliens on this planet called Arrakis. But that's only half of the story though. So this is a story that revolves almost 100% around a certain mineral that only exists on this one planet called Arrakis. This book revolves also around a family called House Atreides. Now, in the beginning of the book, I think it's only like partially mentioned, so it kind of confuses you at first about the whole reason why they have to go here. But anyway, so House Atreides is one of the major houses in basically this like galactic empire. I don't really know what you would call it. But basically, this planet called Arrakis used to be controlled by House Harkonnen, which House Harkonnen and House Atreides has a major rivalry against, which really comes into play only halfway into the book, which really kind of disappointed me because that's really when the story takes off, is like around 200 pages in, which obviously it's a pretty slow start, but Anyway, so House Atreides ends up going and living on this planet Arrakis, which at first they didn't really like, but basically the leader of this house, his name is Duke Leto. He sees a lot of opportunity because now, since the spice is only on this planet, he technically now controls the spice. Now the Harkonnens also see that, and the leader of House Harkonnen, Baron, it's actually Baron Vladimir, but anyway, Baron Vladimir also sees that, and he decides that, hey, I don't like that. And so in an attempt to destroy House Atreides, House Harkonnen invades Arrakis with a handful, or actually it's not a handful, it's basically an entire army, with an entire army of Imperial soldiers, or Imperial Serdakar. I am not pronouncing that right, but that's okay. So they start picking off all of the family members one by one, at least all that are on Arrakis, trying to basically just eliminate House Atreides altogether. Now this eventually leads to the death of Duke Leto Atreides, which technically makes this kid, Paul Atreides, now the Duke, at only like 14, 15 years old. Now Duke, Paul Atreides, manages to escape with his mother to basically the desert. I forgot to mention, Arrakis is basically literally just a desert planet. And the whole reason that the spice even exists, and the reason that it only exists on Arrakis, is because Arrakis has these things called, let's see, later on they call them the Makers, but they're basically giant sandworms. And I can't remember exactly how it's described in the book, but I know it has something to do with like how like basically like big like water pits in the ground interact with these sandworms one way or another. That creates the spice. At least that's what I got from it. So Paul escapes with his mother, flees into the desert, and that goes on for about like 50 to 100 pages. They end up getting taken under the wing of a group of people called the Freemen, and it is during that time when Paul Atreides, having been that is a word. Paul Atreides, having been taught the way of the Bene Gesserit, his mother's the Bene Gesserit, he begins to basically form his own destiny, basically. So it's quite literally like, I don't know what you'd call it. In a sense, it can be kind of taken as a very religiously based novel, I guess, but it isn't, because it isn't real. But it is, because I know I'm also not pronouncing that. There's a lot of like weird terms in this book that like there's many pronunciations for. I'm just gonna point that out. So Paul Atreides, he in this tribe they end up calling him Paul Muad'Dib, or I guess he calls himself that. I don't know. Paul Muad'Dib is now considered a prophet to the Freemen because they believe that this kid, Paul Muad'Dib, is going to essentially like free them from House Harkonnen and the Sardaukar and everybody, and they basically got to him as kind of like a living god. Basically, it's at I don't know exactly when it starts, but I know it happens in this, and Paul, he knows that he's not a god, he's not a prophet, he's literally just trying to do what he thinks he should do. And he sees this beforehand, and he knows that there's going to be a great war because of him becoming like the leader of this tribe. And he sees that and he fears it, but he knows that it has to happen. That also comes into play because of his Bene Gesserit training by his mother. Now, talking to the Bene Gesserits, the Bene Gesserits, they're kind of like space witches. At least that's how they're portrayed both by the Freemen and the Harkonnen to some degree, even though the Harkonnens also have Bene Gesserits. Now, Bene Gesserits are basically they basically use like extreme amounts of power to like basically see. They do stuff like they see the future. They know how people are going to react to certain things. They're basically taught to like control the crap out of your mind, basically. Which also kind of makes sense for why in the book everybody fears them and hates them. It's because they know that they're always trying to trick them in some way or another to get their own agendas a part of the people's plans. Which is also why Paul was taught to become a Bene Gesserit. Now, Bene Gesserits, only females can be Bene Gesserits. It's explained at first in like within like the first like 50 pages, but it's never really kind of explained afterwards. I could be wrong on that though. Now, when it comes to Paul Muad'Dib, the Bene Gesserits, the really high females in that order, think that Paul Muad'Dib has the potential to become what is called the Kwisatz Haderach. and the Kwisatz Haderach is basically like the Ben Gesserit god or messiah, or living god and living messiah, I guess. And so essentially, Paul becomes both of that and the Muad'Dib at the same time. So, and like, I guess like it's kind of more put into the second book about him coming to this realization that, you know, they're all crazy. They think I'm something I'm not, basically. Like, the reason that he was so driven is because he wanted revenge, because his father was killed by the Harkonnens, his family was killed by the Harkonnens. He wanted to exact his revenge on House Harkonnen and the Empire. And so, literally within the last like 100 pages of the book, there's a massive battle between the Empire and their Sardaukar and House Harkonnen joining forces to completely overtake Arrakis entirely. That ends up failing because of the absolutely massive, literally like freedom fighters out of all these different Freeman clans that look up to Paul Muad'Dib as a messiah. The aftermath of this massive battle ends with Paul Muad'Dib not only becoming the Duke, but becoming the Emperor. Now, it ends so abruptly. That's kind of one of the things that I really wish that he had gone just a little bit further in detailing, but it's okay. It's brought back in the second book. I will be doing a review on that here pretty soon. I'm almost finished with it anyway. But anyway. So I know I probably got a few things wrong with this story. It's been like at least like a month since I've last read it. So I'm almost 100% sure that I missed a lot of stuff, and I probably got a lot of stuff wrong. But that is at least from what I remember. And one of the things that I most definitely remember is that this book is probably one of the best books that I have ever read in my entire life. I would 100% recommend this to you if you want to start getting into science fiction, or if you are a major science fiction fan like I am. Now, one of the really good things about this book is that it is extremely easy to read. Like, the way that Frank Herbert writes, it's freaking genius, you know? He writes, it's almost like, you know, if you were to tell a story at like a campfire, you know, or like you're roasting s'mores at the campfire and you're like telling ghost stories. Like, it's almost like that. I'm probably 100% wrong in that, but that's just how it kind of really feels. Like, it feels like a genuine story where you're genuinely getting into these characters' lives, and I don't think like any other book that I've read has really taken it to that level of the depths of characters. And it's like, you know, it is. I think that's just one of the reasons why this is most definitely the best science fiction epic of all time that you will ever find and you will ever have the pleasure to read. With that, I give this 9.8 spices out of 10 spices. This is, I'm just lost for words when I'm trying to describe how good this book is. This is just an amazing book. Now, it definitely looks, like, when I picked this up at Barnes & Noble, I knew that this book had a lot of praise, and I knew it was going to be probably one of the best books I've read in my entire life if I were to read it, but I had absolutely no clue what I was getting myself into. And that you really have to go in it with a blank mind, because it just drops you right in. Like, right into the story with like little to no detail, and then just gradually gets you into it. It's really good. So like, don't even bother reading the back. That's the I'm also gonna mention, it really spoils like half the story if you read the back. So do not read the back. Read the book first, and then go back and read the back if you want to do it that way, or at least make it halfway in and then read the back. That's just, you know. But anyway, this book is absolutely amazing, and I 100% recommend for you to read it. This is a good book. Anyway, that is it for now, at least. I know this I don't know, this video is probably like 4 to 5 minutes. I don't know. But it is a good start. This was not scripted, so I've been sitting here for like 40 minutes trying to get but next time it'll be a lot more organized. I'll probably be able to do a lot more, and there will be like just video after video, probably like every day at least if I can. Now, yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Read this book. It's amazing. You can get it at your Barnes & Noble. Amazon is really cheap. Actually, no, it's pretty cheap. It's pretty cheap. It's only $10. But anyway, I love you guys. It feels good to be back. It's awkward, I know, but it's good to be back, and I am happy to be with you guys again. And I'm glad to be back in this room. I also want to mention that there's going to be a video coming out either tomorrow or Saturday, and I'm going to be revealing one of my books that I've actually written, and I'm going to be revealing that on Saturday's video, and I'm also going to be revealing a few other things regarding a new series, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about this new series, the one this is the first episode for, called the Psycho Book Reviews. This is basically a remake for the series. So this, instead of this being the 3rd episode of that, this is just the 1st episode of the remake series, basically. Anyway, I will see you guys later. I hope you had a wonderful time watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. That is some good air.